Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, everyone. I hope you're well in your health and in your head and in your mind. The Nirvana Sutra states, quote, Bodhisattva Kashyapa said to the Buddha, world-honored one, as you have described, the rays of the Buddha's great nirvana enter the pores of all living beings. End quote. It also states, quote, Bodhisattva Kashyapa said to the Buddha, world-honored one, how can those who have not yet conceived a desire for enlightenment create the causes that will lead to enlightenment? End quote. In reply, the Buddha said to Kashyapa, there may be persons who listen to the Nirvana Sutra and yet claim that they have no need to conceive a desire for enlightenment, and instead slander the correct teaching. Such persons will immediately dream at night of demons, and their hearts will be filled with terror. The demons will say to them, how foolish you are, my friend. If you do not set your mind on enlightenment now, your lifespan will be cut short. These persons quake with fear, and as soon as they wake from the dream, they set their minds on enlightenment. And you should know that such persons will become great bodhisattvas. In other words, although one might slander the correct teaching, if one is not an unspeakably evil person, one will be warned at once in a dream and will have a change of heart. According to the Nirvana Sutra, the Ichantikas, on the other hand, are likened to dead trees or stony mountains that can never bring forth growth. They are, quote, scorched seeds that, although they encounter the sweet rain, will not grow. Bright pearls have the power, when put into turbid water, to change it into clear water. But when thrown into the mud of Ichantika, they cannot purify it. They are like persons without a wound on their hands. When the sutra says, quote, if a person with a wound on his hand handles poison, it will enter his body. But it will not enter the body of a person without a wound. Just as torrents of rain cannot remain suspended in the sky, so the rain of the law cannot remain in the sky of the Ichantika. Through these various similes, we can know that Ichantikas of the most evil type will invariably fall into the hell of incessant suffering in the future. In their next life, it says here, but in the future. Therefore, they do not suffer any immediate punishment in this life. They're like the evil rulers of ancient China, King Che of the Xia dynasty and King Chao of the Yin dynasty. During their reigns, heaven did not display any unusual manifestations as a warning. That was because their offenses were so grave that their dynasties were already destined to perish. Right? There's a natural order to potentials instantiating. Potential includes all the potential itself is magnificent, but what it's capable of instantiating, well, there's no limits to that. And sometimes it's interesting to say sometimes it's not good or it's evil or it's negative. But you have to understand, as a Buddhist, those are words, those are labels defining how we experience things. Nothing is good or bad. Nothing is evil or negative. It's our experience of it. But Sylvain, if somebody takes a sword to you and it cuts your head off right now, certainly that's not good. Well, it's not evil either. It's just something that has occurred. Now, certainly, in my personal estimation, getting my head cut off right now wouldn't be something I would desire to have happen. But whether I see it as good or bad doesn't make it so. It's just something that has occurred. See, this is a critical point that nobody talks about in Buddhism. Everything is about attitude and intent, my friends. Everything is in how you experience. I was just watching a scientist talk about the nature of time and how there's discussions in science, has been for a while, that actual future time, which time, when you get into the science of it, isn't about a thing, it's about events. But that future, quote unquote, events actually affect previous events. In other words, you and I think of time, and mostly in science we think of time as linear, just like a ruler, right? You can't go down 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and suddenly go back to 2 inch and then 4 inch. Well, you can do it, but I mean, in a linear order, it wouldn't make sense to us. But time doesn't work that way. I know, that's like, what are you talking about? Truly, time is about our perception of experience. And look, you don't have to cerebrate too much on this. Think of an experience you've had in the last 6 months. And if you look upon it as an experience that exposed you to either something new or a new way of experiencing something old, you can't help, even if you don't think about this, you can't help but think of that experience as affecting how you previously may have experienced it, or something similar. It will color, we would say, our memories of something we've experienced before, because you can't help but apply what you are now experiencing to what you remember experiencing before. This is why I talk to you every now and again about the past not really existing. See, this is part of what makes us suffer, is we want to hang on to those past experiences as though they still are existing. But the only thing existing now is this experience you're having at this moment. And no matter how well you remember some previous experience, you are applying your current experiential knowledge to it. So you're not experiencing it. It may be very similar. You may be in similar tendencies and conditions, granted. That's called karma, right? But all of it is constantly changing. Momentum. We never are static. Right? So what deviated a little bit from what he's talking about here, but once again, he's diving into attitude. That you may be acting horribly instead of evil in here, and not know it. Your ignorance of your bad behavior or counterproductive behavior doesn't make your behavior any better, but in your life, the consequences of that poor behavior may not seem to manifest in your life until much later, because you're still moving in your forward momentum with your intent of doing something well, and only later do you discover the mayhem that you've left behind manifesting now in your current experience. Right? Isn't that kind of how life seems to work? We keep finding out what idiots we were in the past, right? We didn't know it. It wasn't our intent. If it was, our consequences would become much more immediate because we'd be focusing on it, right? But you can go along through your life merrily going along and creating all kinds of harm, let alone to your own enlightenment, completely unaware. That doesn't mean you cannot become enlightened. It simply means that you may have to revisit your karmic freight train to clear out those negative tendencies and conditions. Why are they negative? Not because on their own they're negative. What's negative for you may not be negative for me or her or them. See, Buddhism is a very individual practice. Why? Because Buddhahood, enlightenment, is unique for each individual experience, sentient mind, karmic freight train. So what I'm going through and what you're going through, there may be many similarities. Certainly with words, they could be very similar. And yet our experience of life could be very different. That's why I can't say, look, this is how I enlightened. This is how I found my fusion with my mandala to open my Gohonzon and experience Buddha-ness. And you can listen to all that and go, you could try to emulate it. Wouldn't work. Then you'd lose confidence. He's full of crap. Blah, 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 blah. This is why we have to be careful when we tell other people about how to practice Buddhism. Nobody can tell you. Nobody can hand you enlightenment, Buddhism. Nobody can say, do all these things and you will attain enlightenment. This is why the Lotus Sutra is so incredibly precious, because Shakyamuni gives us a method based on our own self-teaching, our own aha, renge. It says, just do this. You're invoking the law itself. And the more you ask yourself how you're doing that and study, the more you will learn and inculcate the path to your Gohonzon to experience Buddha. Once you experience Buddha, Buddha is Buddha, because it's the engine of life, which includes everything, all phenomena, right? But getting to that window, that's your window. What an amazing thing that we have this Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu, I am dedicated to now invoking and experiencing Myoho Renge Kyo. Myoho Renge Kyo. It's so appropriate when you begin your practice. What the hell does Myoho Renge Kyo mean? Well, there's the whole pot of gold, isn't it? But as much as I can read these words and stories and all of that, it doesn't matter. These words and stories aren't the solution. What they are is clues, stories to get you to wander in your mind, to locate in your karmic freight train those moments where things appear to you. Because they will. The truth is the truth is the truth. No matter what words or colors or boxes you put it in. If something is truly truth, then all that changes, all that matters is the lenses with which one finds the truth. The truth doesn't change. Your path to seeing it, well, that's only you can find that. Nobody can hold that back from you. You want to be qualified for enlightenment? Then qualify yourself, because nobody else can do it for you, right? Nichiren continues. Third, It would appear that the guardian deities have deserted this country, and that this probably is one reason why offenders do not suffer immediate punishment. In an age that slanders the law, guardian deities will take their leave, and the various heavenly gods will cease to lend their protection. Now, this is sounding awfully religious, isn't it? Deities here and gods there. Let me remind you once again, though, these are translations. And even if Nichiren were using this kind of language with his followers, he would be using expedient means, the language, the discourse, the rhetoric of the day, in order to reach these people and their minds to get their understanding. But please always remember, these ideas, these of deities and gods, and they all have specific names, don't they? Like Darakuten no Mao, right? Or Bodhisattva names. They're personages. They're mental, what should we call them? Ziploc bags of attitudes and intent, of tendencies and conditions, right? We'll call this tendency of never taking a bath and liking their own stench pigpen. And we'll give that pigpen, that'll be the personage name we give for that kind of behavior, that kind of habitual energy, right? But that unkempt tendencies and condition, it doesn't have a name. It's just a tendency and condition that certain people seem to exhibit more than others. Their pigpen quality, right? So when Buddhism, when the rhetoric slips into this kind of dialogue, always remember that these aren't specific entities, that they are parameter groupings of behaviors, of types of actions taken, yeah? Because that's karma. Karma is action amalgamating with energy to result in, right? The cause-effect thing. It's all the same. It's just the rhetoric is shifting around it, yeah? That is why the votaries of the correct teaching do not receive any sign of divine favor, but on the contrary encounter severe difficulties. The Golden Light Sutra says, those who perform good deeds day by day languish and dwindle in number. We are living in an evil country at an evil age. I have discussed all of this in detail in my work entitled On Establishing the Correct Teaching for Peace of the Land, right? The Rishon Kokuran. So now he's referencing in this treatise another treatise on why there's so much negativity occurring in the land. It's because the mental attitudes of the people and their teachers is flawed. It's incorrect. And so people are experiencing a lot of negativity without even understanding that they're complicit in doing that. You see, this equation in Buddhism constantly repeats itself. This I will state, he continues. Let the gods forsake me, let all persecution assail me. Still, I will give my life for the sake of the law. Shariputra practiced the way of the Bodhisattva for 60 kalpas, but he abandoned the way because he could not endure the ordeal of the Brahmin who begged for his eyes. Of those who received the seeds of Buddhahood in the remote past and those who did so from the sons of the Buddha, great universal wisdom excellence, many abandoned the seeds and suffered in hell for long periods of numberless major world system dust particle kalpas and major world system dust particle kalpas, respectively, because they followed evil companions. What's that whole mystical sounding word salad about? Influences. How many fables do we have in Western folklore about bad influences, evil friends? Heck, even the Bible, right, starts out with the snake influencing Eve to eat from the apple tree that she was told not to eat, right? I mean, this is as old as the hills. It wasn't invented in the Bible by any means, by the way. Right? This is human behavior. Somebody taking advantage of somebody else. So again, if we look through this story, and he's quoting in these stories, right, from previous sutras and previous folklore, he's repeating the education of the day for people to understand their meritorious versus not meritorious behavior as good humans versus bad humans. Good or bad is a referential thing, right? If somebody walks into the dinner table and walks all over the table and, and kicks all the food on the floor, we wouldn't consider that good behavior. But that's our judgment. It's rampant behavior. You might argue, well, who would consider that good behavior? Maybe somebody who sees there's poison in the food and is wanting to keep everyone from getting poisoned. Suddenly it's good behavior? See, everything within a context. And this is Buddhism to its core. Are you living your life within the context of this amazing opportunity, or are you living this life based on a fake idea of what you are? Because all that fake stuff that you're attached to and dragging the past along with you is why you're suffering. Don't burn it all to the ground. That's equally attached. Just stop relying on it for who you think you are. Experience yourself now in this moment with clarity that all phenomena in the universe are occurring as you are, and suddenly everything becomes opportunity. I'm oversimplifying, but this is it. How do you maintain that mental clarity? Well, this is the method of chanting and enlivening that nature, that Buddha nature, that clarity of mind. Talking about influence, he continues, whether tempted, what is temptation? I just talked about it, right? It's what's influencing your mind, your attitude. Whether tempted by good or threatened by evil, if one casts aside the Myoho Renge Kyo, one destines oneself for hell. If you're going to set aside your clarity and celebration of life so that you can just stay in the past, stay in all the attachments, listen to everyone else influencing you one way or another. And you've heard me define hell before. What is hell? Even in Buddhism, incessant suffering. What is the hell of incessant suffering? It is the very state we find ourselves in, samsara. This life that we're in, without staying focused on the magnificence of it in a moment-to-moment instantiation, if we're constantly identifying and moving through, coursing in this life with our warehouse of identification and ownership and anxieties and stress, is that not the hell of incessant suffering? You know it is, because then we'll read statements in Buddhism that says that this very samsaric hell is the exact same place of the Buddha land, of enlightenment itself, everywhere you look. How can that be? How can the same place be both hell and magnificent? What's changed? What's the only thing that has changed? Attitude. Your mind. The way that you experience the very same thing. We learned that from the Virmalakirti Sutra, didn't we? That whole sutra was about this very point. You keep thinking you're going to go somewhere else to find a pure land, right? Amida Buddha. But that pure land, it's under your feet right now. You just need to perceive it. Awaken to it. It's happening right now. And if you don't think so, you're missing it. Namo Nichiren Gekyo. Oh, there it is. Right? Here I will make a great vow, Nichiren says or writes. Though I might be offered the rulership of Japan, if I would only abandon the Lotus Sutra, the Myoho Rengekyo, accept the teachings of the Meditation Sutra, and look forward to rebirth in the Pure Land as though we're not in it right now, right? It's a denial. What's another way of saying it's a denial? It's a slandering of the true law. Why am I slandering the true law? Because I'm denying for myself the experience of enlightenment, which is already there for me to experience. And if I live my life denying Myoho Rengekyo, Buddha-ness, then what am I radiating out to my environment? That Buddha-ness is it's unobtainium. We can talk about it, but nobody will ever get there. It's too vaulted. You got to be special or something, whatever. Isn't that what we've identified over and over and over again as evil, bad teachers? Right? We have all these labels we put on this bad behavior. It's bad behavior. Why? Because you're denying your potential for full manifestation of your potential. You're quashing your, call it happiness if you like, but it's your full life is being throttled by your incessant attachment to stuff that doesn't even exist anymore. I know. That's confusing. So let's just talk about those relationships that we maintain for things that hurt us. The relationship hurts us, not the things. Always, always, always come back to your sentient mind. That's what's happening. Shariputra practiced the way of the Bodhisattva for, long time. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I lost my spot. I might be offered the rulership of Japan. If I would only abandon the Lotus Sutra, accept the teachings of the Meditation Sutra, and look forward to rebirth in the Pure Land. Though I might be told that my father and mother will have their heads cut off if I don't recite the Nembutsu. Oh, Amida Buddha, Amida Buddha, Buddha. In other words, wish for a better life. You can't have it now. I don't care if you have to wish for it for someday in the future or wish for it for after you die. As long as you don't have it now, then we've got you by the cojones, right? Whatever obstacles I might encounter, so long as persons of wisdom do not prove my teachings to be false, I will never yield. All other troubles are no more to me than dust before the wind. Living, even if it's just for a moment, my complete, utter, moment-to-moment instantiating full life and my perception of that full life without limit, completely clear, released, as it were, from my own locked possessions, liberating my mind to experience fully life, not just mine, but mine as it is instantiated of full potential. I can't let anything get in the way of that. I can't. To do that is it's worse than criminal. It's suicide. It's so not living. How could I choose that? Rather, I have a few moments of clarity and Buddha-ness and live a very brief life than live an entire long life of misery for blindness. Right? I'll never yield, he says. Now that I know, how can I go back? I will be the pillar of Japan. This is a statement he's making, right? A determination. Is he saying that to impress you or me? He's saying it to Nichiren. I will be the pillar of Japan. Me. I am going to be this solid. That's what he wants us to emulate. I will be the eyes of Japan. I'm doing this. Determination. Resolve. I will be the great ship of Japan. This is my vow, and I will never forsake it. Is all of that to impress you? No. He's saying this because he's saying it to himself. I'm never backing down. And you and I can see in Nichiren the kind of resolve that's necessary for really achieving this and maintaining it. Yeah. It's not easy. It gets easier the more you do it. The more you're in something, the less difficult it is to enter it, right? Or leave it. I'm not sure what I just said. More difficult to leave it, right? You're never going to be ignorant of the fact that you're leaving it, or you'll catch yourself. What the hell am I doing? I need to get back to my practice. Because it doesn't take long for life, samsaric life, to come caving back in on you. But that's our mind that's doing that. Never make the mistake of thinking that what's outside of you has its own mind. That's yours too, always, right? In Buddhism, there's no separation between self and environment. That's the illusion. Oh, life is kicking my ass right now. No, you are. Question: how can you be certain that the exiles and sentences of death imposed on you are the result of karma created in the past? Well, that's how stuff works. We witness it constantly. Right? If I take a knife and I slice my hand with it, I bleed. Now, am I going to say, wow, that's mystical. Look at that blood just coming out of that fissure in my hand. How could that possibly have happened? Oh my gosh. The universe is slicing me up and bleeding me out. Would you say that? No, you just sliced yourself open. It's just cause effect. Boom. It's obvious how stuff works, right? Answer: a bronze mirror will reflect color and form. The first emperor of the Qin dynasty had a lie-detecting mirror that would reveal offenses committed in this present life. Right now, Chinese folklore he's quoting. The mirror of the Buddha's law makes clear the causal actions committed in the past. Remember that quote that I highlighted in yesterday's video? If you want to know why you're experiencing the life you are now, look to what led to this day. Look at the causes, the actions that were taken. There's no mistake. If you don't like what you're experiencing today, or there are aspects of what you're experiencing today that you don't like, then change the behavior that brought it about. It's so, hello, right? Don't slice your hand. Psh. Oh, yeah. Right? Now, I know I'm oversimplifying because some stuff, karma, is so profoundly interwound in who we are, in our tendencies and conditions. Like I was saying earlier, we're ignorant to it. But as we chant and open our Gohonzon of clarity to Buddha, even that dark because we're not aware of it, tendencies and conditions that bring about all manner of suffering for us, situations for us, repetitive situations for us, they'll become clear. Some of it will just evaporate because it won't have a hold. You won't cling to it unknowingly. Others may have to come up for you to go, oh, I don't like that, and address it. That's how our practice works. Constantly refining, clearing our karmic freight train of momentum through life. What a glorious opportunity. The Parinirvana Sutra states, quote, "Good man, because the people committed countless offenses and accumulated much negative karma in the past, they must expect to suffer retribution for everything they've done." In other words, the effects. They may be despised, cursed with an ugly appearance, be poorly clad and poorly fed, seek wealth in vain, be born to an impoverished and lowly family, or one with erroneous views, or be persecuted by their sovereign. Wow, do you hear all of the different manifestations of negative karma? It affects the culture you're born in, the family you're born in, the color of your skin, the politics you live under, your economic status. And you say, well, Sylvain, how did I have any control over that? Your instantiation of a sentient mind ended up in that situation because of countless streams of amalgamated energy in combination with your mothers and fathers and their ancestors. See, you're not such a unique individual. You are unique in your instantiation, but you're the tip of an iceberg of karma. This is why I was saying the freight train of karma. There's a lot of cars on that freight train. You may be the locomotive, but you're carrying a lot of karma with you, much of which you're not even aware of. That's what we're talking about here. How can you possibly become aware or do anything or affect, influence any of that if you're unaware? But the moment you start to wake up and become aware, you start to mollify. And the other truth that I keep talking about is your experience, your sentient experience of whatever situation you're in. It's everything. Do you just crumble to the ground and, my whole karma, the universe is beating me up, I can't do anything about it? All you have to do is change your mind. Take control. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. You can find bliss in what would otherwise look to others as terrible circumstances. But your sentient mind is everything. You can find joy and bliss in the simplest of, if all you do is exalt the engine of life. You're alive. You're able to witness life. There's nothing else. No amount of wealth or poverty compares. The comparison is the disease. They may be subjected to various other sufferings and retributions. It is due to the rewards obtained by protecting the law that they can diminish in this lifetime their suffering and retribution. You can experience Buddhahood no matter what your perceived life conditions are. Because when you remember, Buddhahood is in every single realm. 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. Oh yeah, but some people, they live in hell. No, they don't. They may experience the lower realms moment to moment, but they don't need to. Because even in those lower realms, there is Buddhahood. There is Bodhisattva. There is learning and realization. They're all there all the time. Flip the switch. Buddha. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. This sutra passage and my own experience tally exactly. Nichiren is offering his very life experience up for everyone to see. Talk about, what do we call it today? Transparency. By now, all the doubts that I have raised earlier should be dispelled. And thousands of difficulties are nothing to me. Because they're not me. I don't experience them as me. Let me show you, phrase by phrase, how the text applies to me. Quote, they may be despised, end quote. Or, as the Lotus Sutra says, people will, quote, despise, hate, envy, or bear grudges against them, end quote. And in exactly that manner, I have been treated with contempt and arrogance over 20 years. Yeah. Quote, they may be cursed with an ugly appearance, and they may be poorly clad, end quote. These too apply to me. Evidently, Nichiren wasn't too concerned about winning a beauty contest. Quote, they may be poorly fed, end quote. That applies to me. Quote, they may seek wealth in vain, end quote. That applies to me. Nichiren is admitting, everybody at some point feels like if I just had enough wealth, I could solve so many problems. But that's not the way to solve one's problems, right? They may seek wealth in vain. It's interesting how that statement is made, yeah? Quote, they may be born to an impoverished and lowly family, son of a fisherman, right? That applies to me. Quote, they may be persecuted by their sovereign, end quote. Well, can there be any doubt that that passage applies to me, Nichiren? Yeah? The Lotus Sutra says, quote, again and again we will be banished. And that passage from the Parinirvana Sutra says, they may be subjected to various other sufferings and retributions. These passages also apply to me. Once again, Nichiren is being a stalwart example for us to not only follow and emulate, but as the very proof of what the sutras teach. The passage also says, quote, "It is due to the rewards obtained by protecting the law that they can diminish in this lifetime their suffering and retribution," end quote. Does he need to say it? That applies to him too. He's survived multiple attempts on his life, a beheading, 2 banishments, right? Anyway. The 5th volume of the Great Concentration and Insight has this to say on the subject. This is Tendai now. "The feeble merits produced by a mind only half intent on the praxis cannot alter the realm of karma. But if one carries out the practice of concentration and insight so as to observe health and illness, then one can alter the cycle of birth and death in the realm of karma," end quote. Do you understand what that means? That means that without focusing on enlightenment, on changing your sentient mind's perceptive filter from ownership, samsara, to Buddha-ness, clarity, everything you manipulate and do with that clever mind that we have without Buddha-ness, we're just playing. You know, you've heard me say it before, playing at Buddhism. I know all the words. Oh, I'm in this realm. Now I'm moving to this realm. I'm so clever. I'll do all these good things, and that'll change my life, and all the bad will go away. And then one day everything crashes down. You go, well, this doesn't work. Because you didn't base it on the teaching. You didn't base it on the truth. You based it on your cleverness. This is what Tendai is saying. When you really get down to business, let go of your cleverness and dedicate, Namu, your mind itself to clarity, to Buddha-ness. Let it wash into you, through you, around you. Be the engine of life. How can it fail to alter your samsaric perception? The samsaric perception suddenly But it takes that dedication. It takes that goal, that mind of clarity, not cleverness. It also says, as practice progresses and understanding grows, the 3 obstacles and 4 devils emerge in confusing form, vying with one another to interfere. Interesting statement. What that says is, when you put yourself in the driver's seat, open your Gohonzon mind and experience Buddha-ness, those clevernesses, those manipulations, they become so apparent, right? Like when a little child comes up to you and tries to manipulate you and you go, oh, that's so adorable. It's a little scary because, gosh, they start early. Where'd they learn that habit? Where'd they see that habit? Parenting is hard. Not least of which because it's so transparent. We see our own foibles in our children, or we can't see past them. What's the difference? A true parental mind, a mind of Buddha, or a parental mind that's just an older child, and then the game begins. And then everybody's in the crap, right? All right. it's going to get a little. We've discussed a lot today. He's going to continue. We are making a lot of headway. There's not a lot more. Oh, a big quote is coming up soon. Yeah, I'm going to leave that for the next discussion. Well, we're almost done. Not that much more to go. But this treatise, obviously Nichiren really spent a lot of time on this treatise, right? All day, maybe at candlelight at night, really delving into the depths of his understanding of this message of the Lotus Sutra. I hope that you're finding somewhere in all of this blah, 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 something you can seize upon to go, I get that. Write it down. Make yourself a card if that's helpful for you. Listen, download the podcast. Listen to the podcast. Once you've watched the video with all my, I'm such a quiet little man, not very expressive at all. I can't help it. It's my karma, right? My tendencies, my culture, my background. Anyway, all of this is about supporting your practice, encouraging you to build your confidence so that when you go to your Butsudan, chant the Daimoku with your mandala, that you immediately go through that gateway, that Gohonzon, and experience Buddha-ness. The more you do that, the more quickly you can do that, the more fundamentally your experience of life changes. This is all I wish for you. So I thank you. I thank you for liking and subscribing, helping the algorithm make our resource for this mission more available. I thank you tremendously for buying ebooks and print books to help support the channel. Those of you who are our patrons through Patreon or through PayPal, Namo Myo Rengekyo. What's the words? Asam Kaya Kalpas of thanks. Truly, though, we need to enjoy our lives. We need to become pillars of the world. Becoming pillars is not only exciting and amazing for ourselves, but the influence on those we care about in our environment. Even if they don't understand what we're doing, it doesn't matter. Our influence will penetrate their experience. And hopefully we can raise our confidence and our knowledge, our Buddha wisdom, so that when they come knocking and asking us, how do you do that? Oh, you're a Buddhist? How do you do that? Let's chant together. Have the wisdom to have the influence to encourage others to find Buddha themselves. All right. Thanks again. I appreciate all of you deeply. I'm very proud of your practice. And I'll see you in the next one. All right? Take care of yourselves. Take care of your health. Bye for now.